Boba twitches. So does Jinx. Bro, if you pet Jinx just right, he'll kick his leg just like a dog on his back.
January 11th, 2001. Famed Brazilian actress, model, and singer Xuxa lands her prop spaceship on the stage of a Brazilian TV set and begins her show the way she always does. The program, titled Xuxa Park, was a hit for the Ready Global Network, targeting a demographic of young children with its over-the-top dance numbers, fun games, and immersive futuristic sets. Premiering back in the summer of '94, Xuxa Park had shown little signs of slowing down by the turn of the century, and seemed poised for a long, impressive run, barring any unforeseen disaster.
Damn.
On this particular day, 300 children were in attendance to watch or participate in the show's activities. Xuxa's infectious energy led the way from segment to segment as they played games, showed cartoons, and of course sang their songs. And by the end of the episode, the crew had all gathered on stage to perform one last musical number to end things off with a bang.
I love tacos.
And evidently, that's exactly what would happen. This frame was taken just over 1 minute later, revealing all that remained of the set, as within that impossibly short window of time, the once bright and inviting scenery was turned to a pitch-black, unrecognizable hellscape, barely comprehensible to the camera that was also just mere moments away.
You know who this is, Ashley? Oh yeah, you're from Brazil.
But not before it would capture the carnage firsthand.
Oh my god. That shit went up quick. Oh my god, bro.
In the blink of an eye, the spaceship which Xuxa had rode in on and was moments away from re-entering to leave the set.
Yeah, she was about to get back into it moments away.
All while the dancers continued their performance, unaware of the emerging danger behind them. A member of the staff quickly enters the frame in an attempt to extinguish the flames, but it was already too late, as just a few seconds after the spark, the entire ship was engulfed by the blaze, causing a mass panic on the set.
Oh my god.
Worst of all, directly next to the fiery ship, and just barely out of view of the camera, was the show's signature Ferris wheel, which kids would ride during the program, including during this very moment. As the fire raged, one boy was trapped in his seat, helpless to the danger unfolding around him. And noticing this, a group of brave people on scene began desperately trying to free him, which can just barely be seen on the left-hand side of the screen. Yeah. Thankfully, their attempts proved successful, as he was eventually freed from the seat and carried to safety. The fire was later determined to have started by an electrical short circuit, and the set would soon be completely turned to ash and rubble. But as for the nearly 300 children and numerous staff on scene, despite multiple injuries, everyone had somehow managed to escape the building with their lives, with the only reported fatality being the show itself, as this would be the last episode ever filmed, with Xuxa Park being swiftly cancelled. Thankfully, this moment saw all parties involved survive the ordeal, a rarity in the world of disturbing television moments, though it does highlight just how quickly things can go downhill when the cameras are rolling. And when these dark moments ultimately happen, all we can really do is watch.
Something happened that turned this video into a horror movie.
No water right now.
Your 3-year-old daughter is what?
De aquel suicidio que mencionamos al principio.
If there's one lesson you can learn from my channel, it's that the internet can be a dark and unforgiving place. And unfortunately, it's become all too easy for data brokers to find even or their reaction has them to see if any real-time malware. So a 14-day.
Fuck that ad.
There are very few manners of death that strike fear among us as much as the horrifying prospect of being buried alive. The dark, claustrophobic nature of it, slowly
Yeah,
losing
that's
oxygen
insane.
with not a thing in the world you can
Like
do
when
to stop
Mr.
it.
Beast did his 24 hours buried alive challenge, that's one of the one challenges I don't know if I'd be able to do. I don't know, because like you don't have anything. All he sends you down there with is a clear casket with oxygen flow, snacks, and a place to pee, and you're just laying there for 24 hours. Like I would go crazy, bro. Like just not doing anything, not on my phone, just 24 hours of
It just strikes a
nothingness
chilling chord with
underground.
so many. However, with this fear arose a unique opportunity for those looking to make a spectacle. Rather than running
get
from this mortal
claustrophobic,
fear,
yeah.
a select few magicians and daredevils have tried their hand at the challenge of being buried alive, by not just surviving, but escaping.
Cheers
The
to my
trick was
boy
popularized
Oz,
by
baby.
arguably the greatest
Turn
magician
up.
of all time, Harry Houdini, who tried his hand at the stunt on a few separate occasions, the first of which would see him narrowly escape a casket buried under 6 feet of dirt by breaking through the surface with his fist, only to fall unconscious before he could complete the trick, with the stunt almost ending
What?
in his death. From there, he would be buried again on 2 separate occasions, surviving both for well over an hour, but never being able to fully pull himself out, and in turn pull off the seemingly impossible. Houdini did have plans to give it one more try in 1927, when he believed the stunt would finally be completed, but sadly he would pass away before getting the
Damn.
opportunity. Because of this, the trick has acted as somewhat of a magnum opus for any
Yeah, we've been
magician
growing a
able to
lot.
pull off the feat, a feat that even the great Houdini himself couldn't accomplish. And so, on the 66th anniversary of his death, American escape artist Bill Shirk would honor the late magician by attempting to do just that. For the stunt, Shirk would add extra elements of flair, upping the danger by being handcuffed and having cement poured over top of the casket as opposed to just dirt. And he
Cement.
planned on doing it all with a TV crew on hand. However, from the get-go, things seemed to be off with the performance, as Shirk expressed concern over the grave being dug too wide and too long, thus changing the dynamics of his escape.
Hope I make this. I got a bad feeling about this thing. Bad feeling.
And
At
why
one
are you
point, when
doing
the
it?
first layer of dirt was being applied, Shirk would use his walkie-talkie to tell his team to call off the whole ordeal and to pull him up from the ground, seemingly in a moment of clarity. But everything was already in motion. This was his big moment with everyone watching. He couldn't afford to fail. Besides, he had been buried
I remember
alive
this
before,
now.
setting a record back in 1977 by spending a total of 79 hours beneath the surface of the Earth. He was no stranger to this, and not wanting to let his fans down, Bill Shirk would change his mind and continue the stunt by giving his team the green light to begin pouring the cement. And as that concrete began to settle and harden over top of the casket, things take a very grim turn.
Decides to go ahead.
I think we gotta go.
Tons of concrete are poured. Suddenly, the concrete sinks. The coffin has been crushed.
Almost immediately, the level of liquid concrete dips dramatically, and large bubbles appear on the surface accompanied by a massive splashing noise.
Oh
Signs
my
that point to
God.
only one real possibility, that the weight of the concrete and dirt had caused the coffin to cave in, with those very same materials instantly filling in any available space inside the coffin, and in turn, suffocating Shirk. The rescue effort was underway almost instantly, but still, it felt like it was all moving in slow motion, and most assumed right away that if the weight of the concrete alone had not killed him, then the lack of oxygen certainly would.
My
A
God.
backhoe
Hasted
digs
collapse.
and digs, and crucial moments pass. Shirk cannot be found.
However, this thankfully wouldn't be the case. Incredibly, Shirk managed to claw his way to the surface, where his team was able to pull him to safety and rush him into an awaiting ambulance. And though his condition appeared severe, he was alive and had somehow cheated death.
Thank God he spared my life.
Holy
This one, and,
fuck.
It'll be a while before I'll do one of these. I'll tell you that.
It's gonna be a while
Despite
before I do
planning
another
to
one
be
of
done
these.
with this
Imagine the
stunt for a
panic.
while, Shirk would be back to attempting
For
his
real.
death-defying stunts soon after, with some ending in
panic.
similar results.
After Shirk climbs in the casket, the snake goes in first, but there's a problem, and Shirk has to get help.
Oh my
But although Bill
God.
Shirk was able to escape this trick with his life, not everyone has been so lucky.
He was Han Soloed himself, and then almost got killed by a fucking snake, bro. Why? He's
2 years
not a
prior
good
to Shirk's
escape
run-in with
artist.
death, an Another
0-2.
performer known as the Amazing Joe had attempted the same stunt at an amusement park, also going the route of having dirt and wet cement
At an
poured over his
amusement
plastic and
park?
glass coffin. This was Joe's attempt at becoming a master escape artist, and forever etching himself into the history books of this particular niche. In fact, he had already done what Houdini couldn't, as years prior he had escaped from a wooden coffin covered in 6 feet of dirt. But this attempt was clearly much more extreme, and with it should have come an immense amount of planning, not only by Joe himself, but the team around him. However, according to reports, the coffin used was never actually tested to see if it could withstand such a great amount of weight. And also, he never tested the weight of the cement itself and the speed in which it would harden. Joe was quite literally going into this blind, and his confidence was apparent, as the cherry on top of this poor planning was the fact that no rescue procedure was in place should the stunt go horribly wrong. And unsurprisingly, well, that's exactly what would happen.
God.
It was a cold night anyway, and when it sunk, I just knew trouble. We're in trouble. And it's not fun anymore.
Much like the footage from Bill Shirk's attempted escape, the level of cement and dirt suddenly dips, only this time in a much more dramatic fashion, with the cave-in being so brutal that I'm not sure I'll even be allowed to show it on YouTube. According to many onlookers there, the coffin being destroyed by that immense weight caused a massive crashing noise, followed by immense panic from those trying to rescue Joe. But without a proper plan, the situation quickly grew helpless. And trapped beneath that dirt, surrounded by cheering fans, his parents, and a TV camera, the Amazing Joe would lose his life, ironically within a coffin buried 6 feet under.
Videos freak me out. What up, Alu?
Stunts by their very nature, every create. Joe Burris is. Tragically, Burris's coffin collapses under the weight of dirt and cement. By the time rescuers are able to dig him out, it is too late.
Joe Burris buried on is that 6 tons of cement will be poured on top of the dirt. Tragically, the weight of the dirt and concrete collapsed the coffin. By the time the rescuers can get to Burris, it is too late.
Damn. Cement's heavier than dirt. Yeah, and you would think that as long as
sporting
you get
events
through
are no
before it
stranger to
hardens,
disturbing
cement would be
TV
easier
moments,
anyway.
from hockey players having their throats cut open,
Oh, I've seen that video.
Richard Zednik is cut wide open.
to a football player suffering cardiac arrest right there on the field.
They have been administering CPR through these past 2 breaks that we've taken.
It's unfortunately always a risk in practically any televised sport out there, and although there's always a lingering
That layup was brutal, I remember that.
chance that at any moment things could go terribly wrong, that risk mainly pertains to the players actually participating in the sport, and you
I've
likely
seen some
wouldn't
brutal
imagine
sports
fans being in any sort of
The
danger.
crazy thing is, I can see people die, get shot, get hit by cars, like the war footage, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't bother me. But someone breaking their leg, snapping their ankle, like an actual like sports injury, oof. Like they're that one freaked me out.
They sit by watching the game. Though sadly it does happen from time to time, with perhaps the most notable example being the story of Shannon Stone. Shannon was a 39-year-old firefighter who, on the 7th of July 2011, took his son Cooper to watch a Texas Rangers game in Arlington. This was the perfect bonding opportunity for the duo, and an even better opportunity to catch fly balls, as their seats left them in prime position to take home an unforgettable souvenir. The two would even stop at a sporting store beforehand, where Shannon would buy his son a baseball glove to use in the event that a loose ball came flying their way. And as the game reached the top of the 2nd inning, their moment had finally arrived.
That one lined but foul. When I look at who the A's are facing.
A foul
What
ball
happened?
was hit in their general direction, being quickly recovered by Rangers outfielder Josh Hamilton. And rather than returning the ball to the dugout or the field itself, Hamilton decided to make Cooper's day, recognizing the young fan in the stands and subsequently tossing the ball to Shannon. As this was all transpiring, the game continued with the pitcher preparing for his next throw, before suddenly you can hear the sound of something strange.
I want them to be great in their last exactly. I'd rather have that than have it like Holland where he gets knocked out.
It almost seemed like yelling, which was followed by some sort of strong reaction from the crowd, which in turn led to an immediate stoppage of play, as the announcers were left trying to figure out what exactly was happening, until they finally received word on the unfolding situation.
Ooh, the kid?
He's got a lot of energy built up. I think somebody fell out of the stands in left field trying to field a baseball guy. Well, this is it. That's why there was time taken. Wow.
Did it kill him?
The man in this footage was in fact Shannon Stone, and as Josh Hamilton had gone to toss the ball up to him, the throw fell just a bit short, causing the 39-year-old father to extend past the railing before losing his balance. And despite the seemingly playful nature of the announcers at the time,
you were right, Ray. Somebody did tumble.
That is pretty far.
This fall was no laughing matter, as below that railing stood a 20-foot fall directly onto a concrete floor, which Shannon would strike head first. As he lay there on the ground, barely able to move, the man was miraculously still conscious, finding the strength to tell the rescue team carrying him out, "Please check on my son. My son was up there all by himself." Based on this reaction, it was clear that Stone was obviously alive and had clear brain function, making his initial prognosis on the scene somewhat promising. But before he would even reach a nearby hospital, Shannon Stone would be pronounced dead. According to many medical professionals, this immediate showing of brain function was more or less a fluke occurrence, and something they call a lucid interval,
It's because
which
he
is a
cared
window
about
of
his
conscious
son.
clarity after a traumatic
His brain knew they had to do one last thing and make sure his son was taken care of.
Injury,
You know?
essentially meaning that although his ability to move and speak seemed to be a positive indicator, it was instead a sign that the injuries his brain had suffered were going to be fatal. In the years since, Shannon Stone's memory lives on with a statue being made in his honor in that very stadium where his life came to an end, forever immortalizing someone who, by all accounts, was a great man and an even better father.
Yeah, he was just trying to get a ball for his son and give him a lifelong memory.
We don't see or
tragic.
hear anything.
Oh,
if you spend any considerable amount of
yes, I
time
know
here on
this.
YouTube, then chances are you're at least somewhat familiar with the show
exactly
To Catch a Predator.
this is
During its run
going.
on Dateline, the show was incredibly popular, with its host Chris Hansen being launched into stardom for his role exposing pedophiles on the internet.
How you doing? Should you have a seat over in that chair, please?
At the time, there was really nothing else like this on TV, and was widely viewed as one of the most entertaining shows out there, which has caused it to find a second life here on YouTube, as re-uploads of its episodes have been viewed as many as 50 million plus times. To this day, the show remains immensely popular, and during its television run, the same was true, which led me to wonder how or why it was ever taken off the air. I mean, it was
I know
entertaining,
why.
popular, and with the internet exploding in recent years, the content would seemingly be endless. Yet somehow, this show only lasted 3 years. And that's when I realized that there's actually a very specific reason why To Catch a Predator was pulled from the air. And it's one of the darker TV stories I've ever heard.
It's crazy.
During the
but
fall of 2007, Perverted Justice, the team that To Catch a Predator used to find their predators, had set up a decoy account on MySpace, posing as a 13-year-old boy. And before long, another user had taken the bait, reaching out to the fake child in the hopes of sparking an intimate relationship. According to the user's account, he was a 19-year-old college student that happened to live in the same area. However, upon doing some light digging, the Perverted Justice team discovered that the man was actually in his late 50s. His name was Louis Condrat, and although his behavior was similar to essentially all other predators in the show's run, sending explicit messages and pornographic images despite knowing he was speaking to a child, Louis was different in one respect. It seems that Condrat was in a position of power, working as a chief felony assistant district attorney for Rockwall County. This was setting up to be To Catch a Predator's biggest catch to date, and exposing him would not only mean bringing him to justice, but also bringing in great ratings for the show. Though there was one major issue. Upon engaging the decoy for a few hours and even calling to speak to him,
Hello?
Hey, Will.
Hey, what are you doing?
Nothing. What are you doing?
Nothing.
No?
No, I was looking up to see how to get to where you are.
Still thinking about me?
Yeah, where's your right hand?
It's in my pocket.
In your pocket?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And what are you doing with your right hand in your pocket?
Lewis stopped responding and seemed to recognize the grave error he was making and began deleting all content from his account. And as a few days passed, it was clear that Lewis was not going to be visiting their sting house, which meant no program and no justice. However, the To Catch a Predator team was not going to let this go easily, with the crew coming up with a plan that had never been done before in the history of the show. They were going to bring the program to Conrad.
Yeah,
and
this
so
was
on November
wild.
5th, Hansen and his crew would visit Conrad's house with a group of officers and an arrest and search warrant. This would not be without controversy though, as the warrant supposedly contained wrong information like the wrong county and the wrong date, meaning that they would likely struggle to hold up in court and probably should have never been acted on. Despite this, the crew urged law enforcement to act anyway, rushing the ordeal to assure they got their guy. And so the police agreed, first calling Conrad and then knocking on his door for multiple hours, though neither attempt saw any results. And growing impatient with the whole ordeal, they then called in the SWAT team to surround and eventually breach the house, which they would do around 3 p.m., barging into the home and surrounding Conrad at gunpoint. As this was all happening, To Catch a Predator had their cameras trained on the outside of the home, awaiting the shot of Conrad being ushered into a cop car and driven away, unaware that this time, things were going to end much differently.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Inside, Conrad would yell to the officers, "I'm not gonna hurt anybody," before brandishing his pistol, and rather than pointing it at the officers, he instead pointed it at himself.
The officers line up in formation and head to the back of the house. Then we hear a faint crack. The officers force their way in. For almost 5 minutes, we don't see or hear anything. Then Lieutenant Adina Barber of the Murphy Police Department comes out and tells us what happened.
As they made entry, they confronted the suspect. I believe he's in the hallway, and he told them he wasn't going to hurt them. And then,
And he had a pistol in his hand.
Damn,
this single gunshot would essentially mark the end of To Catch a Predator, as in the time following, NBC would be hit with a $105 million lawsuit from Conrad's own sister. And though this lawsuit was settled privately with undisclosed conditions, the show was already on
This says sued in defense of her pedophile brother. That's the way baseball goes. Come back, man. Oh my
death's door, which was not helped by the national media dogpiling on To Catch a Predator, as well as perverted justice.
But now there are serious questions about what goes on behind the scenes.
Whose sting was this? The police departments or the vigilantes hired by Dateline?
You don't have the full transcripts?
I don't know. That's exactly part of my problem.
Bro,
Police department can't
Chet.
tell me whether or not I...
It's these motherfuckers right here defend, like, the government defends pedophiles. I don't know why. I don't fucking know why, but they defend them, bro. Like, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
I have the full transcripts.
Did your arresting officers, did they see the chats before they made the arrest?
In some cases, yes.
Did they see the entire chats?
Making it impossible, says District Attorney Roach, to mount a successful prosecution.
They are
Charges
the
have
same,
been dropped against every single person arrested in the Murphy sting.
With these claims causing some to believe that the show was more interested in entertainment rather than justice, and whether that's true or not.
Or maybe they found a district prosecutor, literally a district attorney, a lawyer who prosecutes criminals in a position of power, who literally sexted and sent sexual images to a decoy, and they didn't want him to get away with it. And then the overwhelming guilt of being a pedophile, literally someone who fucking sexually abuses and exploits children, made that guy kill himself. Just a thought. I don't know. Maybe that's the most likely thing. Maybe that sounds a lot more likely than any of the other fucking scenarios you guys are bringing up. It's the way the baseball go. Jesus Christ. Bro, we should become vigilantes, bro. I feel like we'd look great in costume, and
To Catch a Predator
somebody's
would
gotta
be
drive.
canceled, marking a tragic end to one of the strangest, yet most compelling TV shows ever to be broadcast.
Bro, I would just be gunman, and they'd be like, "Oh, what's your superpower?" I'm like, "You breaking the law?" Pop, pop, pop. And then Turkey would just whip out in the car, and we just get out of there. You know what I mean? Excuse me, ma'am. Do you need help? This guy took my purse. Bang, 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 bang. Have a nice day, ma'am, and just take off. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's the most effective superheroing.
Solely to this grim moment.
It's a unbelievable style car with rockets. Bro, I was thinking we just pile
As evident
into
by
like
the
an
first
old
batch of cases in this
$2,000
video,
Camry.
many of the darkest moments in TV history
get
come
a
from
stolen
shocking
gun,
accidents or overall
call it a
disturbing
day.
events that play out for the cameras to see.
Green Hornet kind of
However,
thing.
there
We're
are
gonna
select
get
few
caught, bro.
examples where television
Gotta be
moments
low-key.
only really become dark long after they're aired and more context is given.
You've
For
been
example,
saved,
in
man.
our first installment of the
Type shit, Morgie.
series, we discussed Renard Spivey.
Ask him, he's been married for how long?
Over 27 years.
Over 27
Look at him, though.
years.
He look mad. You don't look happy, brother. You don't look happy.
63-year-old Renard Spivey accused of killing his wife, 52-year-old Patricia Spivey, after an argument that turned deadly.
The man who had murdered his wife years after making an appearance on television, with one joke at his expense during this time aging like milk. The concept of killers finding their way onto TV is one that I've recently become fascinated by, with the case always being brought up in tandem with this conversation being the dating game killer. In 1978, a man named Rodney Alcala had found his way onto the popular show The Dating Game, earning a date with Cheryl Bradshaw above all other contestants. However, this date would never actually materialize, as upon meeting him away from the cameras, Cheryl found the man to be creepy and ultimately declined to speak with him any further. And as it turns out, that decision may have saved her life. During the time in which this episode was shot and aired, Rodney was in the midst of a massive killing spree, ending the lives of at least 8 people that we know of, though many claim his true number of victims is shockingly closer to 130, due to the fact that they had found a stash of over 1,000 photographs detailing women, young boys, and men that Rodney had taken, many of which are believed to have been unidentified victims of him. And what makes this all the more chilling is the fact that Rodney had told the show that he was a photographer, and it was even mentioned during the program.
Direction number 1 is a successful photographer who got his start when his father found him in the dark room at the age of 13, fully developed.
Given the shocking nature of this case, it's really no wonder why it's become so popular, especially here on YouTube. But surprisingly, there are quite a few examples of killers finding their way onto our TV screens that have happened within the past decade alone.
Steve Harvey killed somebody?
It happened within just days of writing this script. One obscure example comes from the show Celebrity MasterChef, where in the background we can see an inconspicuous man serving food cooked by the contestants of the show. The man was one of a dozen unnamed chefs, just helping out typically out of view of the camera, but for this one split second, and likely to the recognition of no one, we see him. This man's name is Stephen Port, a 40-year-old living in South London, who has since come to be known as the Grindr Killer. Stephen is responsible for the deaths of 4 men he met on the Grindr app, all of whom he had lured to his flat and poisoned with fatal doses of GHB, before going on to violate and then dump their corpses. With these murders transpiring not long after this fleeting moment was broadcast for the world to see, making me wonder just how many other killers have appeared in glimpses on TV that have not yet been recognized. Maybe they were walking in a crowd or panned over at a sporting event, hiding in plain sight.
That's crazy.
But killers don't just get shown as background characters, or as one-off contestants for just a single episode. Sometimes they are permanently etched in the show's history. In the summer of 2020, Food Network began airing a season of Worst Cooks in America, one of their more popular shows, and this one was set to be a big one, as it marked the program's 20th season. The competition was all in good fun, with lots of humorous and memorable moments, leading to the eventual finale on the 2nd of July. And in that episode, the fan favorite Ariel Robinson would take home the crown as winner of the show, along with a grand prize of $25,000. However, if you were to look for this season today, let's say on demand, on streaming services, or even on TV, you would be left with no results, as its existence has been practically wiped from the face of the earth. And given what happened after the season ended, this comes as little surprise.
What?
Upon winning the competition, Ariel Robinson settled back into her normal life with her husband, Jerry. And after securing life-changing funds from the show, the couple made the admirable decision to foster a young girl named Victoria, whom they eventually decided to officially adopt in January of 2021. On the 6th of the month, just over a week before the adoption was set to be finalized, Ariel would take to Twitter to boast about her parenting, stating, "I'm a mama bear and I'll do anything to protect my children and make sure their futures are equally bright." A statement that seemed in line with her already stellar reputation as being a fun-loving, good person who dedicated her life to loving her kids.
Do what Vamp says
However,
and get merged.
no one
She'll
could
be
have
hot.
imagined the devastating turn this family was heading
You
for.
want to turn up and get sexy?
5 days after Victoria's adoption, Ariel's husband, Jerry, would dial 911 stating,
"You have an emergency. Our daughter is unresponsive. She's drunk a lot of water. We're trying to pump CPR to get out. Our 3-year-old daughter's choking on water right now."
Your 3-year-old daughter is what?
Choking on water right now. We need help immediately.
Okay, we'll get help on the way.
This led to emergency responders rushing to the scene where the young girl was found unresponsive on the floor of her bedroom.
Wait, did the
and
mom
was soon
kill
after
her?
declared dead.
What the
Across
fuck?
her body were countless bruises which Ariel claimed to have been from their attempts at CPR.
What the
Though
fuck?
bizarrely, during the whole ordeal, her story would quickly change, as she soon began blaming her 7-year-old son, whom she stated had a history of anger issues, believing potentially he had killed her. Already, something very strange was happening with the situation, and it only became more bizarre when a forensic pathologist confirmed that Victoria had died not from choking, but from blunt force injuries and internal bleeding, essentially meaning that her death was no accident. This launched a full-scale investigation into the couple, where it would later be discovered that on the day before her death, Victoria had gotten sick at church, causing Ariel to undress her and make her walk out of the building in just her underwear, telling her, "Oh, you're cold, you're cold. Girls that make themselves throw up deserve to be cold." This anger seemingly boiled over the next morning, where, ironically, Victoria was refusing to eat pancakes that Ariel had cooked, which led to Ariel grabbing her, dragging her up the stairs, and beating her with a paddle. According to Jerry, who was working in the backyard at the time, he could hear the beating from outside, claiming that it lasted almost an hour, though he did nothing to stop it.
An hour with a fucking paddle?
Victoria began to bleed internally, and later would pass away due to the traumatic injuries she had suffered by the hands of her soon-to-be mother.
Bro.
When it was all said and done, Ariel Robinson was arrested and will now spend the rest of her life in prison. So soon after
I don't know how, like, anyone could do that to a kid, especially. Like, how can you look at a child, it's defenseless to you as an adult, and just hit them for an hour? Took care of this, bro. I doubt it, bro. Prison is not what it used to be like in the old days. All those pedos and R words and XYZ, bro. They all buddy up in there, trust me. Just did that to her baby. Damn, like you just no humanity, no consciousness ever. Like even if you're evil like this bitch, you'd be like, damn, I want to beat the fuck out of that baby. No human conscious. Oh, they can't defend themselves. They're crying, screaming. They might die. It's been an hour. I might go to prison for this. Nothing. You just the overall violence and sense to abuse, attack, and kill overrides all those other things, and she kills. Like how, bro? You gotta be the evilest person to do some shit like that.
her triumphant win on Worst Cooks. Since the news initially broke on this, the entirety of Season 20 has been removed from the internet and has been wiped from the show's history. But for me, one of the most chilling moments in Ariel's history on television came soon after her victory, when a local news station would come to her home for an interview.
But now I truly am not the worst cook in America.
But she is the winner of Food Network's Worst Cooks in America Season 20.
Yes, I am putting mayo in a glove.
Ariel Robinson lives in Simpsonville.
Where inside, we see a sign proudly displayed by Ariel, touting her as the #1 mom. Soon after, the same local news station would become the leading reporters on her murder case. Despite this all transpiring within just a few years, this surprisingly is not even the most recent example.
Especially the pedophile guy who killed himself. Everyone's like, oh my god, you pushed him to Schlewer Slide and didn't have the appropriate evidence. Like, bro, you know how evil, disgusting, and disturbed and fucked up you have to be, not only to be a pedophile, but then even act on it? Because listen, being doing that is it's not easy, bro. Listen, this is something I learned when I was in school for criminal justice. And it's the craziest thing because if these people like these criminals reverted their energy and their focus and dedication to other things, they'd probably be really successful in life. Because committing a crime takes commitment. It takes commitment and dedication and drive. Because society is telling you it's wrong, you shouldn't. There's the threat of death, depending what it is, jail time, prison. Your family, everyone will know. You'll get physically hurt. And if it's someone like a pedophile, you're literally doing the most vile, evil thing ever to a child. And you like there's that. Not only the child's well-being, this child's gonna be scarred for the rest of their fucking life, and just your overall evil sexual desires override all the things we've been taught and realize as humans to commit this crime. And it's just like it's like the most like when you really think about it for what it is, and like they have to set it up, they have to go there, they have a million times turn back and not go through with it, XYZ, and they still push through with it every time.
Being prominently featured
insane.
on TV, as news broke of this final example just days ago. In January of 2020, the widely popular show Family Feud featured the Bleefnick family, who would go on to win the episode and leave a few iconic moments in its wake, with the most relevant coming from this
Crazy.
man, Timothy Bleefnick. During one of the segments,
Timothy
the question was
Bleefnick.
posed, "What is your biggest mistake you made at your wedding?" To which Timothy responds with,
Honey, I love you, but said I do. Not my mistake. Not my mistake. I love my wife.
Damn. So bad. Bro, let's tell them we're brothers and let's go on there, bro. That's wild. Beefnick.
I'm gonna get in trouble for that, aren't I?
If you've seen
Even
the show
Steve
before,
Harvey
you know
was
that
like,
this
"You
type of
fucked
humor
up."
is the norm, and jokes like this are made in virtually every single episode. But this one would later take on a much more sinister tone due to the events that unfolded not long after the show had aired. Around a year after Timothy's moment in the limelight, he and his wife Rebecca would actually separate, not officially divorcing, but living in separate homes and seemingly not getting along either, as it was recently revealed that Rebecca had filed for a restraining order against both Timothy as well as his father.
I thought,
clear indication
wait,
that she believed
I thought for a second they were gonna say Steve Harvey because he's on screen. I was like, man, what the fuck did Steve Harvey do?
her life was in some sort of danger. Fast forward to February of 2023, and the two were finally making headway on finalizing an official divorce.
You think Steve
Before, on the
Harvey's
23rd
dead?
day of the month,
Motherfucker will never die.
gunshots rang out from Rebecca's home.
Police say 41-year-old Rebecca Bleefnick was found by a family member Thursday. Police say she had been shot multiple times.
When police arrived on scene,
Did he
Rebecca
freak
was
off?
sadly no
I
longer
think-
alive, and it wouldn't take
we'll get
long
into
for
that in a second,
investigators to
my
turn their
opinion on that.
sights on Timothy. On March 13th, police would arrest the now 39-year-old in connection with his soon-to-be ex-wife's death, charging him with 2 counts of first-degree murder and blaming him for the shooting that took place at her home, with his mugshot showing him as completely unrecognizable to the man we saw on TV. With his mugshot
What the fuck happened?
showing him as completely unrecognizable to the man we saw on TV just years before. The whole situation is incredibly disturbing, and what makes it even worse is just how beloved Timothy and his family were in their hometown. I mean, they literally had community watch parties to cheer on the family that can still be found here on YouTube.
Listen, there was so much fun. I'm so happy and appreciative of the support of the community, so thanks.
Making the events soon to come all the more tragic. And
For the
given everything
past,
that's happened
2
since the
years.
show aired, and since Timothy said this iconic joke, I think it's very possible that there was at
That's
least some
crazy.
truth to his words.
In the back, chill. Marcia Martin. All right, before we get into this, here's my opinion on the Diddy situation. I think first of all, Hollywood, hip hop, rap industry, any industry that benefits off of art, especially art. You know, I got that fucking weird art, like acting, dancing, singing, I think there is extreme sexual abuse and predatory behavior. And I think that everyone who's made it to the upper echelon of hip hop, rap, country, acting, Nickelodeon is complicit because they couldn't have got that far without seeing it because so many people do it. So many different people have done it. It happens every day more casually, more deviously on the down low. Of course, like Harvey Weinstein, like Diddy. It was a standard. Yeah, dude. But bro, you don't listen. Like Bob Saget and Tommy Lee, a bunch of old celebrities from back in the day. You don't want to look into their past, bro. You do not want to look into their past. The sexuality, maybe not participated as in like actually done it, but they knew about it, they saw it, and they said and did nothing. So they're accountable in my opinion, and still like rub elbows with those people to keep up their image, keep up their thing. Because I think that like, did Steve Harvey go to the Diddy party? For sure, 100%. Did he participate in the freak offs? We're not gonna know unless there's recording or proof. But he knew about him for sure. He knew about him for sure. Guilty by association, guilty by enablation. They enabled it, and I think um, a lot of celebrities knew about the whole Diddy parties. People made jokes about it for years. I saw videos people been joking about it for years. Eminem was name dropping. And the thing is, Diddy's not the only one. You hear it about a lot of other rappers, hip hop artists, blah blah blah. Literally back in the day, like early 2000s and worse going back. It's only gotten better, which is good. I will say that it's only gotten better. Still terrible, but it's only gotten better as far as exposing these people and getting them, you know, the accountability they deserve as much as possible. With like social media, everyone having a phone, talk, but like you look at the Quiet on Set with Drake Bell and Josh Peck, all the way down to Nickelodeon, all the way up to the big movies. Um, $1 million rap deals, Usher, Justin Bieber. You look at every corner of Meek Mill. It doesn't matter who you are. If you hip hop, rap, if you act for Nickelodeon, if you play in a big blockbuster film like The Rock, every single one of those industries has been outed and proven to be predatory, pedophilic, um, sexual deviance. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's crazy. And uh, I went to Hollywood. I lived there for a year and a half as a model, and I didn't do anything huge. I didn't have like I never had a six figure. I never had an insane like breakout as a model. I just did little stuff, right? And even then, I felt sexual pressure from photographers. For example, when I was getting like, so basically, you got to create a lookbook. When you want to become like after you get signed, you got to make a lookbook. The lookbook is for a model is like winter apparel, athletic apparel, bathing suit, and it's your lookbook. So like people can get us like nonchalant, like not nonchalant, candid photos, XYZ, right? And I remember when I went to the studio and it was a photographer I met there, his studio, took the pictures, and he literally offered if I would have sex with him, I didn't have to pay for any of that shit, and it was gonna be like $800 to $900 for everything I was getting done, and he literally offered me sex, and like it was just like a random studio that a friend had recommended me that I heard good things about in LA. Yeah, and I was 17 years old, and this guy was like 40. Literally, it was like my first 2 or 3. Bro, I was literally 17 in LA and I had sex with a 25-year-old woman. She literally, she literally snuck me into the club and the bar, bought me alcohol and drinks all night, and bro, I was with her for a while. That's actually crazy. Now thinking back on that, like that's kind of crazy. At the moment, I thought I was kind of badass, but now thinking back on it, that's crazy. Because like a 25-year-old dating a 17-year-old's ick. But like when I was 17, I didn't know no better. And that's why as an adult, like when I see other people my age or around my age, older, younger, say, "Oh, I didn't ask her age, or I didn't know she lied." I was like, bro, first of all, I was 17 at one point, and I get it. I went after older people, and I shouldn't have. But like then again, like all those people knew. There was no one that was like, "Oh my God, I thought you were 21." I mean, they told people that, but they all fucking knew. You can't hide your age for that long, especially if you hang out with them, go places and do things. You have social media and other people know you. Like, it's all bullshit, bro.
Our final
Anyways,
entry takes us to the tragic passing of 15-year-old
I'm
Joandra
sorry.
Martin
I'm not
back in
hurt by it,
November of
honestly.
1992. The
Oh,
young
you went
girl
through
had
that.
recently
Thank you, but
discovered that she was 13 weeks pregnant,
I
much to the
understand it.
disappointment of her family, and subsequently ended her life as a
Listen,
result,
listen.
which momentarily...
and I'm not even trying to brag. Like, now, obviously, I've gotten bigger. I've gotten, more muscle. I got a lot more confidence and bite to me. But like, I was, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I was, skinny, small, very pretty. I was used to, like, especially, and I'm just being honest, like, older men, like, sexualizing me, trying to abuse me, doing weird stuff to me for a long time. Bro, when I was younger, bro, like, I was like the pedophile jackpot. Like, cause I was so fucking like oblivious. Like, if I thought I was like getting to go somewhere, travel, getting to, like, make something for social media or like whatever it was, bro, I would do it. I would just go ahead and do it. No questions asked. I mean, like, fuck, look at the shit I got into in Texas. You guys remember the Texas story? You go to my main YouTube channel, like, when that happened to me, I didn't realize um that I was being like was happening to me in the moment. I didn't realize, and I look back, I'm like, wow, that was so fucked. I was like 30 and the story was disturbing. Hey, I said, like as a guy, like, especially as, like, a pretty guy when I was younger, like, I got it happened to me a fuck ton, and I can only imagine what happens to girls. I mean, I don't even have to, because I've met girls and they've told me their stories, and then I've seen it firsthand with my friends. It's terrible, bro. It's fucking terrible. Survival instincts, basically. I mean, like I said, I used to, and I still do, and I really have to catch myself. I have a nose for getting myself into situations. I don't live in the U.S. Well, actually, the craziest thing is the United States has one of the lowest R word statistics, one of the lowest pedophile statistics of like any of the countries. Actually, like in Europe and Asia and the Middle East, all those statistics are way higher. So it's actually only got up in the United States in the past 30 years with, a lot of, immigration and stuff. So that's the crazy thing about America. Generations have story like that. Yeah, because like the average age range to marry in like most European Asian countries are between like 12 and 16. So like pedophilia is built into the very fabric of those countries. Like, they're like, yeah, we're fucking pedophiles, bro. I think South America is high too. Let me look it up. Highest statistics. So America is not in the top 50 of highest crime countries. Out of highest crime countries, America is number 87, even though we have the third biggest population, which is pretty impressive. Highest crime, sexual crime. All right, so the highest countries with sexual crimes is gonna be South Africa, uh, Botswana, Laos, Switzerland, Bermuda, Sweden, Suriname, Costa Rica, Denmark, Grenada, Australia, Belgium, Germany, Jamaica, Iceland, the Bahamas, Peru, Norway, United States, Trinidad and Tobago, France. So, and the thing is, you got to realize the population differences. Like people like to shit on America, like, oh, this. We're one of the safest countries in the world. Even though we got all this fucking stuff going on, we just have the most people, and we're the most lit, and everyone wants to be us. That's the problem. America, baby.
Really thrusted her parents, Maritza
really
Martin and Emilio Nunez, into the public eye. The two
Wait,
had been...
what was the number one? Look that up again. I want to see something real. So it's like I said, South Africa and Sweden are above America. How many people are in population? All right, so there are about 8 million people. Oh, the Swedish descent. Okay. All right. So there are 8 million people in Sweden, and they have a significantly higher crime records over everyone, right? And they have 8 million people. And we are 70 scores lower than Sweden. And Sweden's supposed to be one of the nicest countries in Europe, right? And we have 350 million people. Are pickpocketing? No, these are sexual assault / rape charges, not crimes. But like I said, I've been out of the country a couple times, twice, different countries, and if there are a lot of people in here, if you travel to the country, you can attest to this. Not all countries, but a lot of them, depending on where you're at. Crime is a lot higher. It is not as safe. It is like, of course we got our spots in America you don't want to fucking go. Like, you don't want to go to fucking Detroit. You don't want to go to fucking Broward County in Florida. You don't want to go to Monroe, North Carolina. You don't want to go to the Bronx or Syracuse or Baltimore is pretty safe. Listen, I've been to Baltimore and it was not a good time, I'll say that. From the inside. So, but like America is generally pretty safe, as far as countries go. Like, I'll say this, and this is like, bro, Utah is honestly like one of the most safe, chill states I've ever lived. Like, I was out on Halloween night, full celebration, streets were packed, and like I've been in Chicago on Halloween night. I've been in Indianapolis. I've been in New York. I went to Miami, not Miami, it was Fort Lauderdale. I went to Halloween. I've been to all these big cities. Crazy. People getting in fights, shoving, trash, drinks, cops, shootings, drugs. In Utah, bro, people were like, oh my goodness, bro, let's try the pop. Yo, bro, in the bars, they have pop bars. So, like, here's the bar for alcohol, and over there's the bar for soda. Like Utah is the most, like, bro, literally my friends are like this. So like, cause like I live in one, like, near Salt Lake, and like one of like most Utah areas. And I remember I'm like, bro, Utah is soft compared to some of these places, and they're like, I don't like even the homeless people, like, they're homeless, but they're not like on crack and meth and like gonna stab you with a shiv. And I remember like there's like, bro, wait till we go down to Ogden. Ogden's the hood. Ogden's ghetto. Bro, I was like, we went down to Ogden, and like I said, bro, I lived in the Bronx for a year, and I hated it. Don't get me wrong, like, I'm not proud of it. Bro, Ogden, Utah has no smoke, bro. Like, maybe was there like one sketchy homeless guy like smoking a cigarette? Like, bro, they're like, dude, isn't this place, like, it's not as nice. It's like not as, like, there's not as much money there, but it's so chill and live a peaceful life. Nah, Utah is chill as fuck. Now, Unc, I love you, brother. I love you so much, but let's just say that, like, there aren't many minorities here that I've seen. Utah is probably the widest state I've ever been to. So, I don't know how that experience. Like, I was literally out on Halloween and I might have saw like black people. What you say, Sin? What up, Poffins? I'm a code switch. Would put Ogden to shame. Oh yeah, nah. It's Utah. I'm talking it up in the day. I saw maybe 2 or 3 black people on Halloween night. Like, it was just like all white people. Like, and the thing is, like, I went to Charlotte for Halloween, and like I'm like the only white dude there. Like, it really is like, it's kind of crazy. I don't know. I've never been to an area that's so like undiverse. Shake my head. It's the complete opposite, really. Like, in most places, it's pretty diverse.
Been separated since before she was even
Knew that
born,
about
with
Utah.
Maritza
You
gaining
didn't
full
know
custody.
shit.
something that
Never been
Emilio
here.
would later claim she had used to keep his daughter away from him, as the two supposedly spent very little time together. As a result, Nunez began
Hickory
publicly
divers.
blaming Maritza for the death of their
Yo!
daughter.
Draco with 100 bits! I appreciate it. I would say Hickory has more, like Hickory, Charlotte, and all that area probably has more black people than white people. And then farther out west in North Carolina, not west, farther east in North Carolina are like where all like the racist redneck hick towns are. Like going towards Tennessee. You know what I mean? And then like Charlotte, Hickory, going towards the coast is like more like spaced out and like more of like a mixture. You know what I mean?
Daughter, claiming that she and her new husband had been abusive towards her, and it even struck her upon discovering she was pregnant.
Nah, the closer you get to Tennessee and Georgia, the more racist it gets, chat. Trust me.
And making matters worse, Nunez would go on to allege that Maritza never even told him that their daughter had died, and had only found out an hour before the funeral from a friend. Now, I want to stress that there is absolutely no information I could find to fully confirm any of what Nunez was claiming, and with many elements of Nunez's story, the jury is still out. Though in his own mind, this truly seems to be what he believed, and this is where the dark side of television began to rear its ugly head. For whatever reason, the news station Okorio Asi had decided to cover Emilio.
That's the town I went to college in. Hickory sounds delightful. Nah, yeah, Hickory's a nice, chill town.
Emilio's allegations against Maritza, seemingly taking his word at face value and launching a full-scale story into the case. It started with Emilio being interviewed by a reporter from the station named Ingrid Cruz, which transpired in the vicinity of his daughter's grave. During the questioning, Ingrid would ask him things like, "What would you tell your daughter if she was still alive? And how did you feel when you saw your dead daughter in the casket?"
Hell yeah, Unc. Listen, Unc. This is only a cynical problem. I'm trying to get more dudes there because like I got like 5 or 6 of like my stripper friends in North Carolina, and they're like, we're gonna bring the whole like all my girls here, and like I talked to them and they're like, it's like we need more dudes for these ladies. Like Turk and Unc's boys are gonna have their hands full because like I mean there's other dudes there, but I don't think they're gonna like girls. Suddenly have the budget. No, I'm dead ass. I'm dead ass. Like it is gonna be yes. Sexist double standards. Oh. What about us? Bro, that's who I need dudes for. You, Osby. Hey, you, Kato. Is insane.
Her questions were clearly crossing the line, and things would only get worse from here, as while they were filming this segment, Maritza herself had arrived on location to Yuandra's final resting place.
Listen to there's gonna be so many baddies in this club, chat. Like, bro, it's gonna be like a Chris Brown show, and like I know after that, bro, like.
Marisa, me daría una reacción para ocurrió así, por favor, sobre la muerte de su hija Joandra.
Alright, let's finish this video.
Una reacción de usted.
Upon her arrival, Nunez immediately removed himself from the situation, and Maritza was instead swarmed by Cruz, who began bombarding her with questions, each of which were ignored, as she clearly was uncomfortable and didn't want to speak to the cameras, and was just trying to get to her daughter's grave.
Quiero saber por qué, la reacción, el por qué usted quiere esquivarnos a nosotros.
It's clear in the footage that tensions were rising by the second, as it seemed apparent that Cruz was clearly attempting to provoke her into any sort of reaction, until suddenly, the unthinkable happened.
Su hija tomó esa decisión de quitarse la vida. Usted no tiene nada que decir.
In a split second, and out of absolutely nowhere, we see Nunez charge back into frame. As though he initially appeared to be doing the responsible thing by walking away from the conflict, he had instead actually returned to his car, with the sole purpose of retrieving his pistol, which he would then use to shoot Maritza over and over and over again, all while the camera was still rolling.
Aw, bro, who's this cameraman? Why you put the camera on the ground?
Hey, get in the car. We just shot a woman, possibly coming after us. He's psychotic, man. Where am I?
Up, sweet man.
What funeral home am I at?
¿Cómo se llama esto?
Where am I at? Somebody shot.
Maritza would be shot a total of 12 times, and in turn her life would come to an end, as Nunez stood over her yelling, "I should have done this a long time ago." When the smoke cleared, Nunez would be arrested and sentenced to life with a possibility of parole in 25 years. And what's most frustrating is just how avoidable this really seemed to be. Maritza herself had actually requested a restraining order against Nunez not long before her murder, but was surprisingly denied, as police stated that it would only anger him more. With this happening despite the fact that police were already well aware of Nunez's violent temper, as authorities were literally called on scene for Yuandra's funeral, as Nunez had threatened to kill other members of the family. He was obviously a very troubled man,
I can see
who,
like
following the loss
some
of his daughter, needed help
stuff,
more than anything.
getting parole,
Yet even after all this one news station decided to not only platform him, but to provoke him, right before the two had crossed paths, leaving us with one of the darkest moments to ever transpire in the history of television. I just wanted to let you guys know that I have the less
Peace
censored...
out, Puffins. Well, down,